will be asking his forwards for an extra effort today. Graham Murray, on the other hand, with the side that he's got there, some good players, but they don't seem to be on paper as good as the Raiders, but he's done remarkably well. And last week against the North Queensland Cowboys, I was very impressed how they got it all together in that second half. They were so well programmed. They held the ball for the 6 tackles, and Noel Goldthorpe just called the tune. Just quickly, on the halfback, Jason Burnham, most great halfbacks can catch the ball and pass. He's in there now. He's been given the opportunity to wear the number 7 jersey. He's got to really take the game by the scruff of the neck and do his own stuff. You know, make a name for himself. If he does that, well, I think Canberra have every opportunity of winning.
Simon, one bloke I expect to play very well today is Laurie Daly, because I'm sure he knows that Phil Gould said during the week that Laurie could have played in a dinner suit against the Broncos. He played so poorly, he was so quiet, basically. Does that sort of thing get on your goat as a player? You know, is it the sort of thing that would spark you or not?
I find it hard to keep up with the talk in the papers, but I'm sure Laurie would have been made aware of the comment, and it is just about as big an insult as you can throw at a playmaking footballer. It's pretty hard to comment to say about a forward or someone that gets in and has a dig, and Laurie always has a dig. No one's ever doubted that. So I think Laurie's going to take everything he reads in the paper with a grain of salt. I'm sure he always has. There's been that much written about him.
And you never knock a champion.
No, well, that's true. And Phil Gould must have been taking some angry pills lately, because he's done a little bit of that.
Maybe he might have lent one of his dinner suits and gave it to Laurie. But tucked it in a little bit, though. I think Laurie's a little bit slimmer than Phil Gould.
Do we agree, though, that if it was to be 5 from 5 losses today for the Raiders, that's the end of the section for them, that they can't make the finals this year?
I think they know it. I think everyone that knows that there's 18 games in the season this year knows it. You can't be expected to come out and win 12 of your last 13. Although it can be done, it's a great big ask for them. So I think if they don't do it today, they are
history.
They can still have a good year. They can still come back and win 8-9 games, but they won't be in the semis if they lose today. I don't think.
I'm tipping the Mariners simply because I think that we all sort of expect the Raiders to perform, because they've performed so well in the past, but they've done nothing to really indicate that this is going to be the week. I know that they have to win it if they're going to have an improved season. But for me, the Hunter Mariners have done nothing wrong. We'll soon find out, because we're about to go to Bruce Stadium. Warren Smith and Wally Lewis with the call.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Bruce Stadium for what has turned out to be a vital game for the Canberra Raiders. They face the fledgling Hunter Mariners, having lost all 4 of their Telstra Cup games to start the season. Another loss here this afternoon will only intensify the scrutiny. Coach Mal Meninga and his playing staff, you see on screen right now, warming up in their dressing room. They've been put under plenty of scrutiny in the past 2 weeks. They are desperate for a win here this afternoon. The Mariners, they have 1 win from their 4 games, but have been unlucky in a couple of those games. And Wally Lewis, a month ago, if you'd said this would be a very tight game, well, you'd have pretty much been put in a straitjacket.
That's for sure. I don't think too many people would believe that Canberra would be going through the same sort of difficulties that they have in this past month. Pretty clear indication, though, I think, when you have a look at the program. When you have a look at the first match of the season, 10 of those 13 players that took the field in that first game for the Mariners are actually on the field here today. And for Canberra, there is only 5 of them. So it's a pretty fair lean, I suppose, towards what's been happening at the club. The fellows that are not wanted in the team aren't there at the moment, and they have got a couple of injuries as well. I think the 2 players that they've got out really are 2 fellows that are causing a great strain to them. In particular, when you've got a fellow that is used to playing fullback for Australia, for New South Wales, and for your club level, and you go looking towards a guy coming in your back line all day long, towards doing that, it's a little bit difficult trying to get used to players not being there. And of course, Ricky Stewart at halfback, missing out on him is extraordinary. Not just the captain, of course, but when you're looking for a fellow that can kick the ball and land it on a dime in any course of the field to relieve pressure or force pressure on the other team is something that is very, very difficult.
Well, as you say, the Raiders have been rocked by injuries. On the other hand, Graham Murray has only changed a couple of positions due to a lack of form as he sees it on the half of Brad Godden and Robbie McCormack. He has had a very, very good run to start the season. Very few injuries. Really only Kevin Iro with that torn Achilles tendon has been their worry.
Yeah, it's something that I suppose has brought a great smile to Murray's face, no doubt about that. As we see the visitors take to the football field, not too many boos for the opposition, which is a strange thing when you're an opposing player coming down here to Canberra. But I think it's a fair indication of exactly what the public are feeling here. There's a little bit of a nervousness around. It's not too many teams lose 5 in a row. But gee, if you can remember the last time they lost 5 in a row, you're in trouble.
As we take a look at the Hunter Mariners starting lineup, Robbie Ross is the fullback, and it's Beecham, Zesty, Carlaw, Thompson. The half combination is Scott Hill and Noel Goldthorpe. The forwards are Stone, Swain, Madison, and that man there, Paul Marquette, has got plenty of raps from Graham Murray in the past couple of weeks. He says that he really has started the year with a bang.
Well, he's like the dog next door, isn't he? You certainly wouldn't like to upset the fellow. He's got plenty of skill on board. He's not the hugest man in town, of course, weighing there at 92 kilos and not very tall, but what he has is all full of petrol. He goes out in that footy field and he gives his coach 110%.
Well, we mentioned the Canberra Raiders, 4 straight losses to start the season. They went down to Cronulla in round 1, then it was Penrith, Canterbury, and of course last week on Monday night to Brisbane, 24 points to wait. But Laurie Daly leads them out as the streamers and the fireworks go skyward here at Bruce Stadium. What is a glorious afternoon. Pressure on that man, Laurie Daly, without, of course, his partner in crime, Ricky Stewart, alongside him again this afternoon. Nagus is the fullback, Nandruku and Wiggy are in the centres. Daly is the 5'8". Jason Burnham comes into the halfback position, and the forwards are Hetherington, Pritis, DeVico, Kennedy, Ferner, and, of course, the champion, Bradley Clyde.
Laurie Daly, a man with enormous amounts of pressure on him at the moment. We've been talking about a particular stat that came out of last week's game. Touched the ball around about 70-something times and only ran with it once. I'm sure Mal will be trying to remind him that he's a guy that when he runs with a football, he's a fairly handy attacking player.
So many times at all levels of the game, we've seen him carve opposing sides up. Mal Meninga will be hoping to see a dash of the Laurie Daly brilliance of old today. The referee is Tim Mander. As we stand by here for a start, a big afternoon for the Raiders. The countdown to the kickoff. And it's David Ferner who'll get us underway at Bruce Stadium. Comes down to Madison. He hits it up, brought down 12 metres out from the Mariners line.
Two. Have a look, have a look.
Tony Iro, a player who's been well contained in the past couple of weeks by North Queensland and Adelaide. He had a great game, though, in round 2 against the Warriors, standing and offloading a number of times. This is Troy Stone. Gets it to within 30 metres out. Goldthorpe early in the count kicking. And it's Nagus who tracks across. Will take it inside his own red zone.
Okay, that's 0. No, it's still a bit soft.
Craig O'Neill coming off the left wing.
One, come back.
Just runs it out from dummy half.
Just an interesting feature I noticed in that first set of 6 tackles by the Hunter Mariners. The Canberra defence, when it was moving up, didn't really look like it was moving up in a straight line at all. I'm sure Meninga will be hoping that changes very quickly.
Kennedy offloading to Pritis. He gets it to within 8 metres of the halfway line. This is DeVico. Was listed to start the game on the bench. He's been called into the starting lineup late in the week. The kick from Daly. Ross gets across there to field it. A minute and a half gone. No score between the Mariners and the Raiders at Bruce Stadium.
Up one. Wait for it here. Don't go early, Ben.
Richard Swain, the dummy half. Gets it to Marquette, taken high, and a strong tackle. Pritis up around the chest. Here's Madison now.
Up 3, roll away. No, you're out 17.
Marquette again, his second hit up in 3 tackles. Busy early in this game. To the open side they go. Iro, a couple off the ruck. Dummy is one way, turns it back inside for Beecham. The 5th and last coming for the Mariners. Goldthorpe again. Rolls it inside the Raiders' red zone. Nagus there to clean up. Gets around Gavin Thompson, slips the ball to Nandruku, but he can't hang on to it. The first mistake of the game, the Raiders coughing up possession early once again.
I thought it was fairly obvious in those first 3 sets of tackles that neither team were all that adventurous until, of course, we saw that one come from Canberra, and particularly in their own red zone to start with. Silly place to try something like that.
Iro tackled 30 metres out from the Raiders line. They swing it back to the left through Madison. Tackled by Ferner. Swain darting away from dummy half now. Ball comes out the back. Ross tried to dive on it. Mander rules play on. To the right they come now. And a forward pass. Ruled. Stone offloading to Marquette there, but Mander has called it back.
A little bit of confusion sneaking into the Mariners play there. Here's the pass under question. Well, it was fairly close, I suppose, but referee Mander in very good position. I think both coaches would be a little bit upset with just that period of play there, 60 seconds. A silly pass thrown from both teams there when they've got to try and just settle down and really get their feet flat on the floor.
Burnham off the back of the scrum. Daly hands it on to Wiki. This is Ben Kennedy. It's been a year of rugby union playing with the Manly club in Sydney. Big things are expected of him in the next couple of seasons with the Raiders. Pritter starting away from dummy half now. 10 metres on the Raiders side of halfway. Burnham. Cut out ball to Daly. Clyde standing wide and onto Nandruku into space. Thompson can't get him. He slips it back inside to O'Neill, who was ankle tagged by Goldthorpe. And Thompson will get it inside the Mariners' red zone, but alarm bells there for the Hunter Mariners.
Yeah, I guess there were. It was some pretty ordinary defence out wide, but alarm bells ringing even louder at the moment. We saw a magnificent tackle from Goldthorpe. Here's the play as it took away. Certainly looked like it was going to be 4 points or even 6 points, but a terrific stretch tackle from Goldthorpe, but he is hobbling. Well, not quite hobbling. It looks like he's got a very bad shoulder problem, perhaps even an AC joint, and he has not moved from the spot since landing on the ground.
Well, that would be terrible news for the Mariners if he is forced from the field, of course. Here's Pinchinelli now. Gets it just on the Raiders side of halfway. Turns it back inside for Scott Hill. Oh, tried to get the ball away, but Robbie Ross couldn't hang on to it. Amanda will rule the knock on.
Well, I'm certainly throwing some knives at the team. I just got through telling them how good they were for those first 3 sets of 6. Not trying anything too silly or adventurous. The last period, I suppose, of 2.5 minutes, there have been 5 bad passes or ones that haven't been any chance of being successful whatsoever.
Stay in there, Tony, get back. Back it in.
Burnham away to Daly. Left they come to Nandruku again. Such a dangerous runner. Averages almost a try a game in his first-grade career to this point. Here's Kennedy. Looking to offload, but nobody backing him up. DeVico now. Pinchinelli came across from Marker to hold his progress.
Here's good, no.
Pritter is the dummy half. Turns it back inside for Burnham. Ferner beats the first line. Around Robbie Ross. Will he go all the way? He will. He'll dive in and score the opening try in this game for the Canberra Raiders. It really came from nothing. A couple of missed tackles by the Mariners and they trail 4-0.
That's certainly what it came from. Just nothing, just a couple of bad tackles. They were the ones that created a little bit of confusion. Zisti, the man that looked like he was in a little bit of trouble there. I was just about to say Robbie Ross was standing very shallow in defence before that, and I think that was the reason why he found it so difficult to defend against David Ferner. But a pretty good play put on there. They've got to try and get right on the edge of the ruck. If they're going to come out with some sort of defensive confusion, that's the area where they're going to get it, on the edge of that ruck.
Well, the Mariners' defence has been so good in comparison to the Canberra Raiders in the first 4 weeks of the season, but it's been founding a couple of times now on their right-hand side of the field.
Just wondering how much of a problem that is going to play for the Mariners this afternoon. That injury to Goldthorpe, of course, he is a player who regularly short cover defends. I mentioned Robbie Ross did it there, who normally stays back a little bit deeper than that, but Goldthorpe not in sight there, other than to be seen holding his shoulder.
Ferner, 3 successful attempts from 9 this season. This one is good. That's the Raiders who lead 6-0 early on at Bruce Stadium.
probably add a little bit of confidence to David Furner's boots too. Not just the Canberra scoreboard going against them, but his kicking, which has normally been pretty safe over the last couple of years, has been quite good. It'll be quite interesting to see here how quick they chase this ball with that extra confidence in their steps.
Canberra will play from in front for the first time in what seems an eternity for them. Madison. Strong run gets it to almost the edge of the red zone. Swain stepping away from dummy half. Goldthorpe in there. Marquette back to Goldthorpe now. 12 metres from halfway. Goes across to Troy Stone. Met by Furner. Slips a ball back, a sloppy one. Play on, says Mander again. Iro gets this to John Carlaw, trying to beat Daly. Beecham now. Cross to Iro. The arm free, but couldn't quite slip the pass. Across the back line it comes. Here's Madison. Another strong run from the front rower. Back to the left. Stone for yet another hit up, and Manders caught the Raiders up inside the 10.
Well, he's given the players there fair warning, mentioning that he's called it a couple of times, that he's let them in front. Just giving a rap over the knuckles the first time, of course. Now the opportunity for the Mariners to revert that gap between the two teams to just 4 points.
Luke Prittis, you saw on screen there, replacing Simon Wolford, who was the regular hooker for the first 4 games. He's on the fresh reserves bench today as we have a short break here while we wait for some sand to come out for Nick Zisti, the kicker for the Hunter Mariners. Wolford has been relegated to the bench by Mal Meninga. His defence has been a little bit suspect in the first few rounds.
See the referee just brushing a little bit of sweat from the brow just a few moments ago. It is quite warm here in Canberra. Very surprising, actually. Not a lot of breeze at ground level.
We'll enjoy it while it lasts. Come the middle of July and August, I'm sure we won't have weather like this. It may be as sunny, but it won't be anywhere near as warm. Zisti, 12 of 17 successful kicks this year for a 71% rating from almost in front. Makes no mistake. And after 9.5 minutes at Bruce Stadium, it's Canberra leading the Mariners 6 points to 2. The Mariners, of course, will kick off. Goldthorpe, the good news, it looks like he's okay.
Yeah, just running back from that goal, he was throwing the shoulder around a little bit. Looks like he has a fair bit more movement in it, and he's an integral part of the Mariners lineup, especially with his kicking game. That's one of the best in the business, and of course it's his organisation that really has played a great role in the team's performances so far this year.
Etherington will bring it out from the Raiders in goal. Prittis now to DeVico. Leaping high was Pinchinelli. To the blind side they come. Burnham, another short ball for Furner.
Gee,
that one mishandled, and that is just indicative of what the Raiders have been doing through the first 4 games.
That's right. I mean, they've certainly got a lot more confidence on board now, but confidence isn't going to do you too much good when you're explaining that to the coach at half-time, when you're just 28 metres out from your own line. The runner looks to be fairly well covered by a defender, and you go dropping the ball in front of him with a note on it, here, do something.
A big chance for the Mariners now. The closest they've been to the Raiders line through the first 11 minutes or so. Off the back of the scrum, Pinchinelli will take it.
Gee, I don't know whether the Hunter boys will be all that happy about that. They put a scrum play on. They really did look like they were a fair chance of putting a big opportunity to score on the left-hand side.
They've gone for the quick tap a la the Brisbane Broncos, and it's Stone who gets it to within 12 of the Raiders line. Great chance now for the Mariners. They go left. Pinchinelli, Justice Settler, he's tackled 5 out. Swain is the dummy half. Through Scott Hill, one off the ruck. Flicks the ball back inside to Madison. Robbie Ross now chiming in. Looking for a gap, he can't do so. Clyde brings him down 9 metres out.
Bring it back. Just play it, don't walk forward.
Swain across to Troy Stone. Beats Furner. Prittis was there to hold him. Through Goldthorpe to Iro, standing wide again. Piccinelli gets it back to Goldthorpe. Now Ross, loose ball, a scramble. Beecham is there. Gets it back to Piccinelli again. They stay alive, but the Raiders unable to contain the ball carrier.
All the way.
To the right, Goldthorpe. Away to Hill. Short ball for Zisti. Good tackle, though, by DeVico. Here's the last. Goldthorpe it is. Hill with the grubber into the in goal. Nagers is back there. So is Wiki. And he shovels it over the dead ball line.
Yeah, good smart play from the Raiders there. They didn't want to take too many chances trying to run the ball out. They knew that it was going to be a fairly well-weighted kick into the in-goal area. And have a look how many players they've got back there. They've got 3 around it. So their organisation in defence tight around their own line is quite good at this stage. Obviously very determined. They're not going to concede another 4 points.
Ruben Wiki with the Elastoplast Breathe Easy device. Really is the trend in sport across the spectrum these days as the dropout goes 50 metres on the fly, and it's Madison who gets it back almost to the Raiders' 30-metre line. Bradley Clyde getting a breather early on. These warm conditions will really have an effect on these athletes this afternoon. Iro turns it back inside for Robbie Ross. Exciting fullback. Goldthorpe now. Away to Scott Hill. Back inside to Marquette. Well wrapped up though. Here's Iro now looking for a runner. Kennedy takes him on the edge of the Raiders' red zone. Hill. They spread the ball. Goldthorpe, flat pass for Piccinelli. He was tackled on the 5th. Left they go again to Goldthorpe. Another grubber. This time it comes off the feet of a Raider, and Ferner will play it there. So the Raiders hold strong. A couple of sets of 6 for the Mariners.
Come back.
Craig O'Neill in the middle of the action trying to work it out. Across to McNamara, stepping and weaving.
Roll it back.
They're obviously following a pretty good game plan at the moment. They're not going to take too many chances in this set of 6. Just simple rucks up the middle, grab a good field position, preferably right in the centre of the paddock, where they can have a kicker either side of that halfway line.
Prittis now on the left foot. Kicks for touch, and it will find touch about 25 out from the Mariners line.
Well, I don't like to be too critical of guys, particularly in pressure type situations, but to me that is very confusing. They've got a fellow that can kick a ball a fair way in Laurie Daly. Now perhaps he was under a little bit of pressure the other side of the ruck, but surely they would have had at least one other guy there that could have kicked it and perhaps made another 20 or 30 metres. We've seen the ball make around about 18 to 20 metres and give the Mariners possession more than 25 metres away from the danger zone.
Todd Payton in 19 is the replacement for Ferner. Meninga goes to the bench early on. Anthony Brand now also on the field. Piccinelli harassed by Hetherington. Tackled 5 metres on his side of halfway. 6-2 to the Raiders. 24.5 minutes left before half-time. Stone will play it. To the backs they go. Goldthorpe. Hill shows it one way, goes wide to Carlaw. Takes on McNamara. He bullies him into touch almost. Getting there was Beecham, who did very well to flick it back inside. Now it's intercepted by Ferner. Good defence on that occasion by Canberra. Wiki hits it up. Brand is there to bring him to ground. Hetherington. Good strong run of about 12 metres. Burnham goes wide. Nagus.
Well, he gave a pretty fair indication there. As soon as the ball was played, he called him. He said, you're all off twice. Now, it is a little bit difficult, I suppose, for blokes to say, well, I'm not going to run up there and tackle. You've got to go up and create a little bit of a problem to the attacking players. But that's the only reason that they're getting themselves into trouble at the moment, the Mariners. They're just simply giving away penalties where the Raiders are coming down this end of the field.
To the Raiders, deep inside the Mariners' red zone. Prittis will tap it. Turns it back inside to Payton. try and bring him to ground. Eventually they do so, just a couple of metres inside from the touchline. That was Wesley, in fact. Now Burnham to Payton. He's brought down just by Anthony Brand. For a moment, it looked as though he was going to beat the line. Prentice now, driving from dummy half, gets very close indeed. Wesley tries to push him over. Now it's Burnham looking for a runner. Kennedy overran it. He was the decoy, so did Clyde. Burnham is caught flat-footed. Daly now. He grubbers. Well taken, though, by the Hunter Mariners. That was a fantastic take.
Gee, sent him to South Africa, that bloke. He's got a position in the Test team. He's done extremely well, and probably more than anything, as we see the remarkable skills that he's displayed, what he's done that a lot of people don't pay credit for is relieved pressure. That ball, of course, could have stopped in the in-goal area, and they would have had another 6 tackles to face.
Laurie Daly, sorry, Wally taking the option to kick.
Yeah, that's right. Instead of running, it's a little bit difficult, but the amount of work that they've had to come up with at this stage, Canberra have had the ball, 72 tackles. The opponents coming up with just 38. So no wonder they're twice as tired.
Had to do plenty of work early on. Now here's Troy Stone. Fifth tackle, still inside their own half, the Mariners. Goldthorpe kicking. Burnham was up, trying to charge it down, but it's McNamara who'll field it. Runs it back towards halfway, beats one. And then Iro tried to tackle him. He offloaded, though. That's Wesley. Almost loses possession, but hangs on to it. Bradley Clyde now, running wide.
Okay, part one, wait for it here, clear it.
Almost 19 minutes gone at Bruce Stadium. It's the Raiders who hold this 4-point lead. Comes across to Burnham. Back inside for Nagus. A hole in the middle here. Clyde saw daylight for a second. It's Swain who cleaned up. Wide they go. Burnham now. Shape to kick and then pass to Daly. To Nandruku. Well tackled this time by Gavin Thompson. 2 more tackles for the Raiders. DeVico works it up inside the Hunters' red zone. This is the last. Daly this time will go to the air. Chasing through is Nandruku. Kennedy flew for it, couldn't hang on to it. The ball is knocked backwards. DeVico tries to get the arms free. He'll be tackled there, and that will be the changeover.
And that will be a great relief of pressure for the Hunter Mariners. They've been defending pretty well. They've been under another enormous amount of pressure. I was quite interested there to see exactly how they were going to respond to Paul Marquette leaving the field. There it is, right on the 6th tackle. 3 or 4 defenders around. I don't think we'll see anything too dodgy used in this set of 6. They'll just work it and clear it.
Unnecessary. Tackle was already affected.
Manda penalising David Wesley, considering he was the second man coming in. Just a little bit too late was Wesley, and Goldthorpe will kick for this western touchline. Fantastic afternoon here in Canberra. Very warm in the mid-20s it is. Anthony Brand works it up almost to the halfway line, slips the pass to Pinchinelli. Across it goes to Ross now. He makes it just on the Raiders' side of halfway. To the left, this is Tim Madison. Tackled by Prentice, who stripped him of the ball one-on-one.
Let's go.
Can still strip the ball if it is a one-on-one situation, and that's what Prentice had. They spread it now to Craig O'Neill, but it's going to be called back for a forward pass.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Actually, we'll probably see on the replay that it will look very, very close, but just at a normal speed. Yeah, it's gone probably a metre forward, which spoiled a little bit of the attack for Canberra, but it really does appear as though all Canberra's attack is happening on the left-hand side of their attacking plays, the close side to Canberra, of course, and that in itself, I suppose, is something that the Mariners will have to work on at half-time. Graham Murray will have to shift it around a little.
Scott Hill, long ball now for Carlaw. He is wrestled the ground by McNamara. 30 metres out. Back inside it comes. This is Troy Miles. Another replacement for the Hunter Mariners. Marquette puts the head down, gets it inside the Canberra red zone. To the blind side. This is Miles again. Taken high by Payton. Swain tries to duck away from dummy half. It's back to Robbie Ross. Flick pass for Goldthorpe. Back to Marquette now. The Mariners not going anywhere fast. Last tackle. Hill at dummy half. On the toe. Into the in-goal area. Cleaned up by Nandruku, but he's met by a wall of Mariners defence. He fights, but there's no way out for Nandruku, and it will be a goal line dropout. Well, there wasn't much happening, Wally, as far as attack, but they did well to get another set of 6.
They sure did. They kept the ball alive. To their credit, the Raiders, they matched them. Took them all about. It must be terrible picking up the ball like that and saying, well, what do I do here? I've got to get out of in goal, and I've only got 13 blokes to beat. The errors coming up in the game are the ones that are really telling the story at the moment. It seems that the Mariners are in a good field position, but they tend to come up with almost twice as much wrongdoings as their opponents, and that's probably what's stopping them from chalking the points on the board.
Anthony Brand now driven back. Madison, met by DeVico, dropped it backwards. Manda rules such. Here's Miles now, darting away on the blind side. Picks up an easy 15 metres for the Hunter Mariners. They'll spread the ball again. Goldthorpe, away to Hill. Cutout ball for Zisti. Nandruku, around the leg, stops him. 15 out again. Here's Hill, busy. The 5'8" has been looking now, diving. Being brought down just 5 metres out. It's Keith Beecham off the left wing. They'll go that way, to the left. Loose ball. Picked up by Miles. He grubbers now. And Nagas is there in plenty of time. Not much pressure at that time from the Mariners. They've had plenty of ball, but Canberra so far have been rock solid. Here's Wesley now, working up to the edge of the red zone. Burnham across to Ferner. Good strong hit up that side from the second row. Brings the crowd to life as well. Prentice. He's taking it off the back of the ruck. Burnham to Vico. Shrugged off Marquette rather than a loose ball. Dived on by Ferner. This is the last for the Raiders. Hetherington is forced to kick from dummy half. Unusual seeing the big man kick from that position. Ross tries to bring it back. He's tackled 35 metres out from the Mariners line. Beecham.
One. Wait for it here, don't go rolling, Luke.
You see the Raiders have been forced to make so many tackles, 103 compared to the Mariners, 55, a 2-to-1 ratio almost. So much possession for the Mariners, but the Raiders have held strong for the first 25.5 minutes of this match. They still lead 6 points to 2. Madison will play it, or Brand rather will play it. It comes wide for Carlaw. Wiki, he gets around Wiki, but McCormack came. The loose ball towed through by the Mariners. 6 to go was the ruling. Manda will rule that came off the Mariners, and it will be a 20-metre restart. Or was he ruling something else here?
Yeah, I think he's going to take it back in order that the scrum is formed from a Canberra knock-on.
Mariners ball knocked on by Canberra.
And that's in fact what it is. So the Mariners will have more possession here and yet another chance to try and breach this Raiders defensive line.
Just take it easy. Get the formation. Hey, wait. Luke, go down. All right, hold the line, Ben.
It has been the proverbial arm wrestle to this point of the game.
Stay back.
Again, it's Pinchinelli off the back of the scrum. Goldthorpe to Hill. Long ball almost intercepted by Nandruku. Thompson did very well to take it in the end.
Come back.
10 metres out from the Raiders line. Beecham now.
Right there.
Works it up. Just 3 out. Left they go. Goldthorpe did well to hang on to it. Miles' tackle.
Come back, come back, come back.
There's a huge gap wide out on the left-hand side. It's just the trouble of getting the ball out there for the Mariners.
That's 4. Let's go. Get up.
Zesty straightens it up. Across to Goldthorpe now. Dummies to Brand. Gives it to Pinchinelli. A flat pass. Away through Goldthorpe now. Beecham back on the left wing, gets it, a couple out. From the Raiders line, last tackle again.
Oh,
Bad pass. Here's Ross cleaning up. He puts it into the air. No chase from the Mariners, and O'Neill is untroubled to take it on the full in his own in-goal. And it will be a restart for the Raiders.
Well,
so far, we haven't really seen much an attack from the Mariners.
No, they just appear at this stage to be throwing, perhaps we're being a little bit overcritical, but it seems they've had a couple of opportunities wide out on the left-hand side. Probably made a little bit worse by trying to throw the ball across too far too soon rather than putting the ball through the hands and committing the defenders one-on-one, throwing the long passes and giving them an opportunity to discount about 4 of the 5 possible attackers.
Wesley. McNamara now. 10 metres on his own side of halfway. Burnham. Long pass for Furner. He dummies to Daly, then goes on his own. Trying to slip the impossible ball, and Daly was set up on straight away and couldn't handle it. Once again, Canberra forcing the pass in a situation early in the tackle count. Brand now. Still within 30. Goldthorpe darting away. The Raiders just must love tackling. They've had to do so much of it here in this first almost half hour of the first half. Marquette, wide now. Slips a pass to Carlaw. Tries to fend off McNamara. Flick pass. Taking it was Robbie Ross. He's brought down on the edge of the Canberra red zone.
Let's get him low, Ruben. You're offside, mate.
Madison will settle it up. Big tackle by Luke DeVico. Hit him with a forearm jolt and knocked him 3 metres backwards. What a hit that was. Hill now to Goldthorpe. Away to Troy Miles into space. He might get there. Brought down short. His momentum may have carried him over. Manda will go to the video replay.
I think what he's checking for here at this stage is whether there has been a double movement. I think he believes he's got there, but will it have been a double movement? It's a very difficult play to call.
Let's watch it again. I've got no doubt that he bounced first before the line, but did he reach out, or was it just his momentum that carried him across the try line?
It's a pretty good fend and a great tackle that came up with it. Now, you've got to work out, is it the inertia that actually carries the ball across there? To me, that right arm has not taken the ball across, but does the screen, does the big referee, and I don't think if he awards a try, he'll be the best friend here.
Here's the decision. It is a try to the Hunter Mariners.
And as you can see, it's been well received.
Troy Miles scores for the Hunter Mariners, and then they've tied it up. 6 points all with 11 minutes left in this first half.
Now, to be very honest, when I saw that try, the first indication I had was, yes, it was a double movement. There certainly was a double movement, but it was with the left arm. The right arm tended to hug the ball tight to the body on the right chest and just took it across the line with the force of inertia. Did very, very well.
That's amazing, but so early in the season we've seen so many of those exact instances where we've gone to the video referee. Chris McKenna for the Sharks against the Canterbury Bulldogs was awarded a try in almost the exact location on the ground at Belmore. Again, the video referee thought that wasn't a second movement. Here's the kick now with Zisti off the field. That strikes the right upright. Richard Swain misses, and we are locked together at Bruce Stadium. Canberra 6, the Hunter Mariners 6.
Here's the ball being shifted across the field. The defence really looked confused on that occasion. David Furner, the fellow that really got caught out of line, yeah, it didn't really look like there was any doubt whatsoever. But then again, after seeing the slow motion replay, we're all experts.
I think the slower you see it every time on that replay, the worse it does look. But I think on that occasion, there really was no effort by Miles to extend that right arm and plant the ball over the line.
The pressure about to be exerted back on Canberra again, of course. The Mariners kicking off. They've really got to make sure, Canberra, that they don't go making any mistakes in this set of 6 tackles.
And that try, of course, all came from that ball that Furner tried to slip to Laurie Daly. So here they are, working it out of their own red zone. Hetherington gets it just outside the 20. Prittis, again, running from dummy half. Another good run by the hooker. Daly now at dummy half. This is Wesley. Burnham in there. Gets it to Hetherington. Ferner has lived on this left side of the field, and here's a penalty.
Not coming.
Amanda ruling the Mariners up inside the 10. It's been such a long time since the Raiders have had the ball down this end of the field.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, I think, this set of 6 tackles that they get now. They've got a bit of extra confidence on board that they're out of their own zone. But, of course, they've been defending for about the last 10 or 12 minutes. How much energy have they got? And it's mental as well as physical that they're prepared to exert here.
Here's DeVico now. Gets the first hit up. Inside the Mariners' red zone. Burnham across to Clyde. Trying to work his way through. Got the arm loose. Hetherington was there. Elected to hang on to it. This crowd comes to life again. Wesley trying to break free. Burnham to Daly. Look for Andruku, a miscommunication. Here's O'Neill now across the top. The pass came.
Turn to go, no starts. Tony.
Daly across to Burnham.
Okay,
Hetherington is caught 9 metres out from the Mariners' line. Last tackle. Prentice tries to roll it into the end goal. Loose ball. Towed through now by Beecham. He will gather, but is going to be ruled offside.
Here, waiting for the advantage. Ball kicked forward. No, he's in front. No, offside. Waiting for the advantage.
Well, Noel Goldthorpe, like all good halfbacks, in there disputing the case. You get no satisfaction, though.
I'm trying to.
Laurie Daly doing it a bit tough there at the moment.
They're not coming back.
An obvious limp there.
There's the ball that went across. It came off Goldthorpe and then bounced into somebody who was standing probably half a metre in front of him, quite accidentally, but in this game, unfortunately, the ref doesn't take sorry.
Well, he rarely reverses a decision, if ever. Goldthorpe still not happy about it. It's Ferner who will line it up 20 metres in from the eastern touchline, about 18 metres out. Perfect record so far today. Just under 7 minutes left before half-time. Looking to break the deadlock. It looks good. It's very good. The Raiders again lead by 2. 8-6 over the Mariners. Ferner, uncharacteristically, has had his problems to start the season with the boot, as has that man in the stand, Mal Meninga. The yellow shades on. He'll be encouraged by what he's seen today, even though the Raiders have still coughed up some possession inside their own half, Wally.
You know, I think he looks in a pretty relaxed mood there. More so than anything, I believe he knows that he can take something into the dressing room at half-time with him. They'll come off the field and perhaps he'll say to them, look, guys, you're 2 points in front in the football field out there, but we've struggled to get there. Imagine how far we could be in front if we don't have the same error count as what our opponents do. We've had 9. We have a look at the Hunter boys. They've only had 5. Now, we're doing it twice as tough as what they are, and yet we're still in front. So if we look after ourselves a little bit better, then perhaps we will cruise through the game without any struggling.
That was Pinchinelli who hits it up, slammed to the ground by Hetherington. Stone now. Another strong run from him. Tony Iro. It's been a little bit quiet in this first half. And well contained, as we said earlier, in the last couple of games the Mariners have played. Captaincy stripped off him a couple of weeks ago by Graham Murray in the halfback. Goldthorpe has led the ship and led it well in the past fortnight. Last tackle now. Goldthorpe with a low kick looking for the line. It stands up,
well,
and then Nagus watches it across.
But the referee called it was touched in flight. So we're going to see at this stage the Hunter boys come up with the ball just 10 metres out from the line.
Let's look at it again here.
Just touched in flight.
There it is, off the forearm of Kennedy.
Boy, did he make a play at it. Nagus running across the ball. He was just going to let it cruise into touch after hearing the ball called touched. He really came out with a sprint.
Well, the crowd certainly aren't happy about it. Kennedy was trying to avoid the ball. Amanda didn't see it that way. Goldthorpe off the back of the scrum. Another great chance before half-time here for the Mariners. Hill spinning, tackled by Burnham. Darting away from dummy half. No way through for Zesty. Now swathed in bandages after he left the field with a head gash. Brand now trying to force his way through. Back it comes. Scott Hill. Cross to Troy Stone. Mander has found a loose ball. Stone protesting, but it didn't look as though that was a good decision by Mander.
I think Tony Iro believes that the ball was stripped. Having a look at that, that grip from Hetherington, I think he's got a bit of support. That left arm was certainly wrapped all around, but unfortunately we can't go giving a video replay on every tackle in the game.
The Raiders with the loosened feed come up with it. Just over 3.5 minutes left before half-time. Here's Bradley Clyde. Now Mander.
Brad, you got blood eye here, mate.
Clyde will go to the blood bin.
Two. Anybody can play it. Bring it up.
Cut just under the right eye.
Markers up closer.
Doesn't look too bad though.
Just wait.
He makes it out until half-time. Come back fresh for the second half.
I'm sure that the Canberra boys certainly enjoyed that little bit of a spell. The amount of work they've done in this game, 145 tackles. Hunter boys has come up with 84, and the errors, of course, still twice as bad. Hunter have only come up with 5, and Canberra coming up with 10.
Kennedy now gets it to within 10 metres of the halfway line. Given the weight of possession, you'd think that the Mariners should be a little bit further in front as Prentice gets one to slew off the side of the boot. It will be a turnover on the last now, so the Mariners, another chance. The Raiders side of halfway. Zesty.
If anything, that's the only time that is really good to kick it out on the full, because when you get a turnover like that, you are charged to tackle right from the start. That was the first tackle. As we see a silly pass, relieves the pressure for Canberra. Of course, the new rule, 99 times out of 100, first time you touch the football, it is a free tackle.
Scott Hill tried to force the pass and turn it over. Now Daly through Furner. Running wide of the ruck again. He's been busy in this first half. Wiki, a dummy half. Fends away from Iro. Finds a half gap. Brought down by Swain. Prentice now. Dummy back inside. Slipped eventually. 32 out from the Mariners line. Burnham away to Hetherington. Some easy meters there for the Raiders. He hangs onto it inside the Mariners' red zone. Couple of tackles to do something with it. Daly now takes them on. Will get it back to Kennedy. Now to Nagus. He tries to find a way past Iro. Does so. Good tackle, no, by Robbie Ross. Fifth and last. Daly. Grubbers through. Beecham is there in cover. Furner brings him down with a beautiful tackle. And the Raiders will have the last shot at it here in the first half. Great half of football for David Furner. Has all of Canberra's 8 points. Good chase here on Daly's kick. Sensational tackle.
Yeah, I mean, he's got pretty fair reason to stay on the ground. He's been the best forward on the field for the Raiders, taking the ball up on numerous occasions. Came off the field for a short replacement. I think he had about 90 seconds on the bench, and he's gone back out there, leading by example and doing very well, Furner.
So the Mariners have 6 tackles to withstand here, just on a minute on the clock. Nagus hands it back to Payton. He's seen plenty of time in this first half. Burnham at dummy half. Gets it across to Wesley. Pushing up, brought down by Swain underneath. Prentice dummies to Burnham, then goes himself.
This will be the play that will decide whether they're going to chalk up points.
Furner away to Daly. Looks for the gap, tries to fend off one. Good tackle by Pinchinelli to stop it there. Nagus to Burnham. Switches it back inside to Nandruku. Loose ball now. Now Nagus swooped on it. Didn't get there in time, though, so the pressure is relieved. And the Mariners will just run it down to half-time. Iro, though, kicks. What was he thinking? Gets it to Jeff McNamara, and now the Raiders have a chance here in the dying seconds of the first half. Wiki gets away from one. Well, a brain explosion, you have to say, from Tony Iro. This is the first tackle now. That was tackle 0. Burnham to Wesley. He almost got the arms free, and luckily for the Mariners, that is half-time. But, geez, Tony Iro gave the Raiders one last sniff in a couple of tackles there.
Well, if you got a pair of gloves, Tony, put them on, because you're about to get those knuckles wrapped by the coach. I've got to tell you, I've never seen anything like that. But 9 seconds left to go in the half. They only had to take one more tackle. They would have been quite safe. But you get just the look on the faces of all the forwards that had just got off the ground. Well, here it is from dummy half. But you look out there, the Hunter boys have got 2 players on the open side of the field. One sprints up. So effectively, they've only got one on that half of the field, covering about 30 metres. He realises that he's got to get up there. All the other players are at least 30 metres back that sprint to get up there. The forwards, of course, just coming up a little bit out of shot. They were all running, but I'm sure they couldn't believe it. And he might have got called a few names on the way over there. But they're in at half-time. They'll be feeling a little bit more comfortable when they're sitting down.
Well, it certainly was an attacking move, because, as you say, the Mariners didn't have numbers over there and nobody was expecting it. He was going to clear from his own side of the red zone. You thought he'd be kicking to that same western side of the field where the Mariners did, in fact, have some numbers. But here we are, back in the Canberra Raiders dressing room for a well-earned drink. It has been steamy in this first half, and they'll be sitting down soaking up the Gatorade like they never have before.
Yeah, Coach Graham Murray already going to work, getting around to his guys. I think more than anything else, he's probably going to be installing a little bit of confidence back into the fellows, letting them know that they've been in field position all the time. It's only a couple of errors that are keeping them away from having points on the board.
So at half-time at Bruce Stadium, it's the Canberra Raiders who lead the Hunter Mariners by a scoreline of 8 points to 6.
Just the 2 points in it at half-time at Bruce Stadium. A couple of things to discuss, Steve. What about the missed opportunities by the Hunter Mariners, and what about Mal Meninga's sunglasses? Looks like he walked away from a bench grinder and forgot to take them off.
What did you say? I think he got a new sponsor or something. It must have been. They're shockers, aren't they? No disrespect, Mal, but both sides are very tentative in this first half. The positive side for Canberra is that they really are trying. The defence is better. There's a lot more urgency in their defence. The Mariners, on the other token, they're throwing the ball around. Lack of communication, the ball's going anywhere. What do you feel?
Well, I think, as the game stands at the moment, the Raiders obviously have got the better of it on the scoreboard, and I think they've got the better of it in attack too, although they've defended a lot more than the Hunter have. The Raiders have made more line breaks, I'd say, without looking at the stats. I think the way the Raiders are attacking it, they've got a couple of blokes, Hetherington in there, and he's just going to hit it up the middle all day, I think, and they've got using Ferner out wide. And, David Ferner's a good player out there. He's got a good step, and that's how he got his first try. I think if he hangs on to the first ball he dropped, it's another, big break to the Raiders. So, although they're struggling, it must be hot down there. The Raiders are struggling in defence. They're holding their line, all the ball that is being flopped back, they're holding their line and just tackling the bloke that comes at them.
Well, part of the reason that they are holding so well is that the Mariners have been so flat-footed in attack. They haven't been running onto the ball. They seem very disorganised. You can't guess where the passes are going.
Well, Noel Goldthorpe, we've seen him do a couple of great kicks today, but that's really about it. And I'm not saying the responsibility should lie with him, but the forwards have been very flat. Tony Iro, he was probably mentioned twice in Wally's call, but they really are lacking a lot of imagination at the moment. Canberra are hanging in there by the skin of their teeth, and they are playing a lot better than we have seen them in previous weeks, but there's plenty of football left in these 40 minutes to go.
Steve, I know you like to see a running halfback, and we wondered how Jason Burnham would go. He certainly went very well through that first half. He ran across the back line, picked up a man, and he picked up a good one, David Ferner.
No.
Brittis is the dummy half. Turns it back inside for Burnham. Ferner beats the first line. Around Robbie Ross. Will he go all the way? He will. He'll dive in and score the opening try in this game for the Canberra Raiders.
Just a couple of bad tackles. They were the ones that created a little bit of confusion. Zisti, the man that looked like he was in a little bit of trouble there. I was just about to say Robbie Ross was standing very shallow in defence before that, and I think that was the reason why he found it so difficult to defend against David Ferner.
Good try. The Mariners spent an awful lot of time in the Raiders' red zone. They had set after set, but none of them could straighten up and really take the attack up to the try line. The first person to do that was Troy Miles, the big number 30.
Ruben, you're offside, mate.
Madison will settle it up. Big tackle by Luke DeVico. Hit him with a forearm jolt and knocked him 3 metres backwards. What a hit that was. Hill now to Goldthorpe. Away to Troy Miles into space. He might get there. Brought down short. His momentum may have carried him over. Manda will go to the video replay.
I think what he's checking for here at this stage is whether there has been a double movement.
Let's watch it again. I've got no doubt that he bounced first before the line, but did he reach out, or was it just his momentum that carried him across the try line?
It's a pretty good fend and a great tackle that came up with it. Now, you've got to work out, is it the inertia that actually carries the ball across there?
Here's the decision. It is a try to the Hunter Mariners.
Not much doubt about that. The left arm coming across, I think, was just to protect the ball, and the point was made anyway that there was no one there actually with a hand on him, so he could have got up and played on.
Yeah. I just questioned Wally, said, is it inertia that got the ball across the line? Are we going to call him Professor Wally or something, are we?
I think he meant momentum, didn't he? Even so, that's having tipped the Hunter Mariners, that's what I'd like to see them do more of, is that straighten up and run hard at the line. They're very confused at the moment. None of them want to run hard and straight, Steve.
Their first half is very much like their first half against the North Queensland Cowboys last week up there at Breaker Stadium. Very, very pedestrian. I'm sure that Graham Murray will say at half-time, no, we need you to be more creative, run across the edge of the ruck and get your big men going forward. Quick play the balls too, that's the other thing. The play the ball's been very, very slow, and if you play the ball quickly in this sort of game, you can get another 10, 15 metres side.
Well, if your forwards are going forward, you know, then the backs, particularly the halfback and the 5'8", can do a bit of angled running, and the straight runner, as you say, Cameron's going to do it for you. We've seen 2 tries, and really they've only been, you know, the same people involved, the halfback and 1 back rower from each team. The halfback runs across field with a bit of deception inside and then hits the straight runner, and that's the story of both tries. As you said, Turvey, Canberra in the dying minutes there, probably the option would have been the field goal, but you know, they weren't able to come up with that.
We'll never know what Tony Iro was thinking with that kick, but let's have a look at the stats, and I'm sure that will reflect that the Hunter have had quite a lot of territory. In fact, I thought it would be more than 52%, but they have spent only 47% of that time in their own half. And the Canberra tackle rate is probably one of the things that may tell on them in the second half. They have had to make an awful lot of tackles.
Well, it's pretty all line ball there. You will see, though, the Hunter have made less tackles and they've made more missed tackles. So, obviously, that shows why the Canberra Raiders are in front. But, you know, just looking at that, everything's pretty all line ball. The penalties, time in halves, give or take a couple of percentage points or whatever. But really, it's the second half is how hungry do you want to win this game?
And Steve, a lot of those errors have led to a breakdown in play too. The Hunter Mariners haven't really got on a roll.
A lot of silly, unforced errors, forcing the ball. You could see a couple of times the ball was thrown and the player saying, well, who'd you throw that to? You know, so there's really a lot of lack of cohesion at the moment, lack of communication.
Yeah, I think you're right. Simon, what would you say at half-time to the Raiders? Because let's face it, they haven't looked particularly impressive. If this is the start of the revival, we really haven't seen it.
No, well, I think, you know, they've got a lot more positives, the Raiders. You know, that dressing room will be a lot more positive than the Hunter dressing room, I think. The Hunter have been playing well in the last few weeks and they've come out and, you know, we really haven't seen a good half from them. They haven't really been organised, whereas Canberra, they've defended strongly. You know, I think that a couple of times they've had to do 18, you know, 20 tackles on their line, and they've come out of that and put the ball out downfield, had the scrum, and then they've defended again, you know. And that's grinding work. It's a hot day down there. So, you know, the forward packs on hot days, they've just got to work hard. And I think, although both teams are a little disorganised, I think Canberra have been a little more structured in that they've got a couple of forwards who really want to take it up. In Hetherington, you know, in particular, he's made, you know, probably 2 or 3 good runs, and apart from David Ferner, he's really the only forward who's made an impact on the game.
Well, the game is certainly wide open. I'd be interested to hear what Wally Lewis has to say about that. We'll find out after the break.
You're watching Super Sunday on Fox Sports 2. Over the decades, the very best of golfers have played in this, the Players' Championship.
Truly a classic USPGA golfing event. Great golf from the world's greatest. See the action. The final round tomorrow morning at 6. Live from Ponte Verde Beach, Florida. Exclusive to Fox Sports.
Monday, live on Fox Sports, the second one-day international between Australia and South Africa. After a thrilling clash, the arena is set for an explosive match as both sides look to establish a commanding lead in this 7-match series. The second one-day at 5:30 Monday, live on Fox Sports.
In the sometimes uncertain world of live televised sport, one thing is guaranteed. For our latest program news, contact the Fox Sports website.
Play on Fox Sports 2.
Wally Lewis is at Bruce Stadium, of course, with Warren Smith, and I'd be interested to hear what you thought, Wally, about that first half. The Hunter Mariners seemed to lack direction.
Yes, they did, particularly when they got into about the zone 20 or 30 metres away from the try line. Everywhere else in the field, I thought they were quite structured. They looked to be pretty good.
We're looking at their room now, Wally, and they seem to be pretty pumped up. Graham Murray, well in control of things. Perhaps he's explaining those laws of motion that you mentioned during their first try.
Yes, I've heard the professor come into it. He's done very well, though, I think, Murray. You can see just how quickly he was to work straight after they got into that shed. He thought, well, if we've got 10 minutes in here, I'm going to use every second of that 10-minute period. And he puts a lot of work into the players. 50% of it, I believe, is building up the confidence in themselves. A new club, they certainly need it.
Well, we've seen the Raiders coming out on the field now. Mal Meninga, they've got played 4 games, haven't got a win. What do they have to do this second half to improve their game to get the victory?
Steve, I think that the biggest problem for them at the moment is that they know that they've got an opportunity to be able to throw the ball around and come up with some passes that eventually will come off. It's just that I think that they're trying them in the wrong position at the moment. They've got to work for their field position and kick. At the moment, what they've been doing is trying to throw those dodgy passes around about their own 30-metre line. And when they have kicked, it's come from the dummy half position sometimes, and they've kicked to only make about 20 or 30 metres. In this game, I think it's that fast. You have to try and cash in for around about 45 or 50 metres. But the one good thing that they've had is that the defence on their own line is quite good, and it is very, very structured.
Play about to resume. The Raiders leading 8 points to 6. Let's go back now to Warren Smith.
David Furner on screen. All 8 points for the Raiders in the first half. 2 goals and, of course, a try. 40 minutes away, perhaps, from notching up their first win in 1997. Troy Stone, along with his Mariners teammates, they're looking for win number 2. Noel Goldthorpe will be a key in this second half. The Mariners with such a weight of possession inside the Raiders' red zone in the first half, but they really couldn't do much with it apart from that one try to Troy Miles. Just standing by for the recommencement. The ball boy waits for the ball tee. He clears out of the way, and we are back underway at Bruce Stadium. DeVico juggles it early on. 20 metres on his own side of halfway. Etherington now. They work the blind side. Good run of 10 metres. Back to DeVico again. Busy early on in their second half. Makes it to halfway. Prittis to the blind and then kicks. Too deep over the dead ball line. And it will be a Mariners start. And on the sideline, we have Michael Hagan, the Mariners assistant coach. Michael, what were the instructions from Graham Murray at half-time?
Craig Bellamy from the Raiders here, mate.
In fact, we have Craig Bellamy standing by. And Craig, what were the instructions from Mal Meninga at half-time?
Mel just wanted us to really pick up our ball control, especially in our half. We felt that let us down a little bit in the first half, so that's our big call at half-time.
Mate, I think the one real good point for the team, though, was the defence on the own line must have certainly given Mal some real confidence, I believe, because that's when they bonded together very well.
Yeah, well, that was obviously the real pleasing thing. Not only the defence on our line, but also defence all over the paddock. That was a great improvement today, and we think that if we can control the ball, that could win us the game today, hopefully.
Well, it really seems like that's the only problem, because it's once that ball control is going to come, the amount of possession and the errors that are being made by the opposition, if you can cash in on those, it will add to that confidence level double.
Yeah, obviously, as you say, well, if we make less mistakes with the ball, we don't have to do as much tackling, and we've got a little bit more petrol left to attack then. So obviously that's our call, to control the ball better and keep our defence on the same as it was in the first half.
Craig, thanks for your time.
Thanks very much.
A loose ball here for the Mariners. They surge towards the Raiders' red zone. Troy Stone stepping, gets around a couple. Nandruku couldn't get him either. Gets it back out the back. Goldthorpe back inside to Troy Miles. The Raiders really struggling early in this second half, putting the Mariners on the ground. Swain darting away from dummy half now. On the last tackle. It comes to Goldthorpe. Away to Hill. Grubbers. Nagus is back there. Now he has to try and beat the Mariners out. He can't do so. And it will be the Raiders who restart with a goal line dropout.
Yeah, that was very
now
well
standing
done.
Sideline is Michael Hagan. Sorry, Wally, the Mariners assistant coach. And Michael, what did Graham Murray have to say at half-time?
Graham was reasonably pleased at half-time, given that he thinks the Raiders have certainly lifted this week and they've defended a lot better. He'd like to see us run a little bit straighter in attack and obviously try and combat Canberra's very good sliding defence.
Mick, I thought that particular play there was an indication of where they've tried to spread the ball a little bit more when they're putting the grubber kicks through in the half-time. Some of them were a little bit too tight to the ruck. That one was wider and not much chance of being charged down.
Yeah, I think obviously kicking game's very important too. Well, it was great to see Scotty Hill put a couple in the goal in the first half just to put them under pressure, and we'll be looking to do some more of the same in the second half.
Michael, good luck in the second half.
Thank you.
This is Madison. 30 out from the Raiders line. Goldthorpe. Cross it goes. Miles. Just inside the red zone. Swain at dummy half. Troy Stone. Almost gets around one, gets it back to Hill. Long ball here for Beecham. Tries to step. Craig O'Neill can't do so. It will be a Raiders ball. Daly coming up with it. DeVico. Well tackled by Marquette.
On the line.
Prittis back to Hetherington. Nandruku, or Nagus rather, in close.
Stand up, come back.
Good defence from the Mariners. Wesley was hit hard. Zisty out there. And those bandages on the last now. Burnham it is with the kick. Looking for this western touchline. Ross comes across and watches it roll in the touch about 2 metres out from the corner post.
Now, I think they've got a little bit more confidence on for their kicking game. If you ask them which one they prefer, we saw that spiral perfectly off the foot. Gee, he placed that in exactly the right position. It was always going to go very deep into the corner. The decision by Robbie Ross just to let it go was a very sensible one. But in that first half, of course, they used 2 kicks that were 20 metres long. Now they've got about 50 and look in a great field position.
Okay, line it up. Just take it in a bit, On the 20, in the 20. Go in a bit, boys. Walking, fellas, don't worry about them. Let's go. Get the formation, Luke. Get the formation. Okay, there you go. Stay in there, Ben.
Mariners win, and it's Carlo.
back. Jason.
Brought down 12 out from his own line. This is Zesty. Dummy to Thompson.
I play 2,
Took
I'm
the
here,
tackle.
I'm here.
Just on 5.5 minutes gone in this second half. No addition to the scoreline.
Look at me.
Marquette, 15 metres on his own side of halfway. This is Swain trying to dart away from the back of the ruck.
Okay, 50 last.
Vico stopped his progress. A sloppy play the ball. Goldthorpe has it. He looks for the touchline. That bounces about 1 metre inside and will find the line. 30 out from the Raiders try line. So an even start to this second half. No line breaks to speak of. The Raiders trying to work themselves into a rhythm, looking for that X factor, that sixth sense they seem to have lost in 97, Wally.
They sure have, but that'll come back pretty quick. They know that that's just around the corner, and once they get that first win up, it'll snowball.
Daly, cross to Wiki. Has been pretty quiet. Haven't seen much of the ball at all, especially in the first 40 minutes. Burnham now across to Daly again. Here's Nagus. Brought to ground by Piccinelli. Wesley met by 3 Mariners. Ball comes loose.
Thanks, mate. Reach the ball.
Tim Mander there, I think, getting a bit of help from his touch judge. And the penalty does go to the Raiders. Wesley being swarmed here. Plenty of arms in there. The ball does come loose. I think Troy Miles did help it out. So it's Prittis with a tap. DeVico. Another hit up.
Up that one, roll away.
Big front rower. The Mariners on the attack. Payton now. Just inside the red zone.
Come back. Look at it here.
They're fanned out left. Burnham to Daly. Turns it back inside. High tackle. Troy Miles went very high, but you hear Mander say that was okay. Daly again takes it to the line. Back inside to Nandruku. 10 out from the Mariners line. 8 minutes gone in the second half. Here's Burnham to Ferner. Bus one, can't beat the second. The ball came loose. It went backwards.
Okay, last one.
Payton will play it. To Daly they go. The chip, looking for Craig O'Neill. He takes it and will score a fantastic try for the Raiders. Daly with a chip. It was weighted perfectly. They lead by 6 points.
Here it comes to the left-hand side of the field. An area the Hunter boys have had a little bit of a problem with. No problem whatsoever. The play was onside. Complete confusion for the defence out wide, but admittedly only 2 players covering around about 25 metres of field out on that area. But it was a great take. That's a wonderful take, and if anything else, it's added huge amounts of confidence. O'Neill going to be the pride of the town at the moment.
Looked as though Gavin Thompson out there on the right wing for the Mariners was almost expecting the grubber kick, and when Daly went to the air, it caught them by surprise, and there was plenty of room for O'Neill to fly through and take it oh so nicely. Ferner will try and make it 3 from 3. Couple of metres in from touch. This one hooking though. And the scoreline remains. With almost 10 minutes gone in the second half, Canberra 12, the Hunter Mariners 6.
It'll be interesting to see exactly what the Hunter boys talk about behind the goal line there. As a former player, the thing that used to annoy me more than anything, as we saw that wonderful take, was giving the opposition an extra set of 6 tackles. Now they were at that last set of 6. They had received a penalty after the 4th tackle. Now that effectively gave them 10 tackles, seeing it was on the last one. To me, the game these days is just too fast to expect a team to come up with 12 tackles.
So the lead is Canberra's to lose at the moment. They play from in front well into the second half. An unaccustomed position for them, especially this season. 4 straight losses, looking to open their account this afternoon. This is Madison who will play it. Back to Troy Stone. Gets it back. Hill now. Can't find a way through. Here's Tony Iro.
Okay, that's 3.
We haven't seen him stand an offload as we did earlier in the season. Piccinelli.
That's 4. Keep coming, keep coming.
Goldthorpe across to Marquette. DeVico has been strong all day, tackles in.
Mariners, no starts. Stay there.
Goldthorpe to kick. Looking for that eastern touchline again, but Nagus is back there. Oh, Mander will rule it knock on. This will be interesting to have a look at again. It did appear as though this went backwards.
Well, see, it must have been difficult for him 20 or 30 metres away to call that. Admittedly, he was facing the try line when he dropped the ball, but it looked like it went backwards by about 20 or 30 centimetres.
Well, of course, the ball has to be propelled towards the opponent's try line. Didn't look to be the case on that occasion. Amanda was very quick with the decision as well. It's the Mariners now. Hill turns it back inside for Carlaw. Ferner is there. Mariners with a chance to hit back here and try and level this scoreline up. Long pass from Goldthorpe to Ross. Tackled. Just 10 metres out. Beecham will take it from dummy half and settle it.
Let's go, wait for it here.
Swain across to Goldthorpe. Stone. On it goes to Pinchinelli.
Come back.
Centre field now. They continue taking it right. Goldthorpe again for Iro. Turns it back inside for Zisti. 3 metres out. Juggled and then grub it through. Clyde will dive on it for the Raiders.
It was terrific work from Noah Nandruku on that occasion. He was the player that moved up to put all the pressure on the person kicking the ball. Effectively, it's given them possession and taken enormous amounts. There he is, chased from marker. It's worked out quite well for the home team.
Here they are, 30 metres out from their own line. Clyde trying to run around the defence. He's tackled on the 4th.
Come on, Tim.
Nandruku across to Ben Kennedy.
Okay, for the last.
Burnham with the kick. Off the side of the boot, this one will land 30 metres out from the Mariners line. Wasn't as deep as he was looking for.
And I don't think we'll see too many people running to this scrum. A lot of the guys are exerting a bit of sweat here. It's been played at a pretty good pace too.
With 13 and a half minutes gone in this second half. The Raiders prepared to grind it out at the moment. They've done plenty of work, 199 tackles. The Hunter Mariners have made 147.
Don't play it, let him get a tunnel.
So much possession for the away team. Hasn't translated into points so far. An early mistake now from Hill, and Prentice dives on it. The Raiders with a good chance here. Daly, they spread it quickly through Nandruku. Dummies to Nagus. O'Neill comes up with the error. Well, in the space of 10 seconds, both sides coming up with a knock-on, and it will be a Mariners loosened feed. Sloppy stuff from both sides.
Don't come down. Get the formation. Don't come down front row. There we go.
Didn't look to be that tough an opportunity to catch the ball, I suppose. Maybe the old story, opening the eyes to watch where he was going to run before it.
The Mariners have it. Daly makes the tackle.
Come back.
Ross will play it 15 metres away from halfway.
Let's see it this time.
Through Goldthorpe. Cross Pinchinelli, cut-out ball. He found Zesty running into open space. Looking for Thompson, gets the ball to him. Nandruku in cover, can't get him. A ball back on the inside. Ross driving for the line is brought down by Ben Kennedy. They go back to the blind. Beecham tried to dive over, and he got there. A try for the Mariners off the break from Nick Zesty, and they've hit back. They trail by 2 with 24 minutes left here in the second half.
And do you ever become glad that you made a mistake? We had the Hunter boys made a mistake. The ball walked across the football field virtually. It was another mistake from Canberra that gave the Mariners the opportunity to attack wide out. It was a wonderful pass to open up an opportunity. Keeping this pass available, though, was absolutely sensational. The support play that came from Hunter as the defence. It was nothing wrong with the Canberra defence either. You have a look in that shot there. There is around about 6 or 7 jerseys. A wonderful tackle to pull the guy down just half a metre short of the line from Bradley Klein was fair indication he's fit again. And the ball simply being planted from dummy half.
Beecham was able to spin out of the tackle from Kennedy. It did so well getting back there to bring down the initial raid. Now it's Zesty who has a chance to level it up. So the momentum swings again. "15 metres in from the eastern touchline. It looks good. It's there. What a game we have now. 12 all at Bruce Stadium. Two tries apiece. This one is set for a thrilling climax. Goldthorpe will restart.
It used to be a funny time for me when I was playing a game like this. You used to think, well, when we ran on this football field, we were both level. Now we've been playing for 60 minutes. We've lost half a kilo in sweat, and we're no better off.
So it becomes 22-minute sprint, if you like. Payton gets to the edge of the red zone. Youngster has seen plenty of time on the field in first grade this afternoon. Clyde now. Play it back to Prittis. Kennedy. Swain around the top, as was Iro. Sloppy play the ball once again, but Manda lets play continue. Anthony Brand brings Prittis to ground.
Over the top, Tim. Over the top, that was late.
Tim Madison late in with the tackle, flopping across the top.
Obviously just trying to slow the play down a little bit, as Prittis attempted to get to his feet very quickly to play the ball.
Well, and as we join the action live again, the Raiders have failed to find touch, and the ball goes dead in goal. Well, what a mistake from the Raiders that time.
Penalty kick, 20-minute dropout.
And as you hear Tim Manda say, it will be a restart via a dropout from the 20-metre line for the Hunter Mariners. The Raiders, I'll get the ball back. Should have been a lot further downfield. Clyde hands it back to Nagas. Fullback today, of course, with Brett Mullins out injured, hoping to be back in this side next weekend when the Raiders will take on Auckland here at Bruce Stadium. Wiki now hands it back to Payton. He shrugs away from one, tries to get the ball back, does so to Prittis. Good start from the youngster. 32 out from the Mariners line. Wiki is the dummy half. Hetherington back behind the ruck. Madison tackles him and he loses it. Once again, a mistake from the Raiders. Pressure is off for the Mariners. Turnovers have killed them at different times in this game.
No penalties. Let's wait.
Swain gets it back to Anthony Brand.
Here's the mark.
There you see the errors. The Raiders, they've made 9. The Mariners, 14. Brand now hitting it up again. 2 tackles left for the Mariners. It's Marquette. Hands back to Goldthorpe. He's wrapped up. Gets it back to Robbie Ross. Ball to Hill now. Juggled it. Again to Ross. Looking for somewhere to go. He can't find anywhere. Payton tackles him on the last. Goldthorpe. Rubbers looking for Thompson, but O'Neill picks it up. Iro tackles him. 18 out from the Raiders line. Not much happening on that set of 6 for the Mariners. The Raiders try and work it out. Here's Daly hitting it up. Beats 1, beats 2. Good run from the 5'8" captain.
And that's the 3rd time Laurie Daly has run in the match. The other 2 just before half-time. He tended to upset the defence as well.
A couple of gaps appearing for the Raiders if only they can hang on to the ball. Furner now to Kennedy. He tries to beat 1, gets it back to Nandruku. Stepping off the right foot. 30 out from the Mariners line. O'Neill at dummy half. Across to Furner. Comes to Wesley. He straightens it up. Last tackle. Burnham grubbering. Ross is there, read it very well. He'll be tackled deep inside the Mariners' red zone. Good set of 6, though, all the same from the Raiders. Here's Swain now. Good run from him, making 15 metres. Comes back to Madison.
There's a big mistake.
Get another loose ball. The Raiders get a chance here. Well, maybe this heat, Wally, and the amount the players are sweating is really starting to take a toll on the handling. In the last 5 minutes especially, we've seen so many drop balls.
Well, it could well be.
Get the formation.
They're the ones that you really can't. You can't give a rap to, though. There's errors, but there's no pressure made on from the defenders.
Okay, one. Look at it.
And Andruku will play it. Back to Daly. Coming away from dummy half. Ross was there quickly.
Slow play the ball. He was in front. No, slow play the ball.
Now, Laurie Daly there complaining, saying he was at dummy half and the marker
Over here.
managed to get around and chop his hand before he passed it. But it was pretty well, it was a good example there that Robbie Ross got around very, very quickly to try and chop his hands and did it very successfully. So now I suppose that last area where Canberra were given an opportunity to score from just 30 metres out has been thrown away. Another one that will really make Mel's job even tougher.
Here's Iro now, picking up on the bounce and getting it back inside. Another drop ball. I'll clean it up. Not back, says Manda. The Raiders certainly aren't happy about that. Thompson gets away from O'Neill, gets away from another before Clyde brings him down. Swain. Back to Marquette on Nandruku, or Stone rather. Nandruku came in to kill him. Hear the impact. That was incredible stuff from Nandruku. Thought about protecting his own body. Scott Hill across the top. That is a poor kick out on the full.
Well, and some of the kicking in this game has been terrible. There's the big hit from Nandruku.
Standing still, okay.
Some great contact there. There's been 25 kicks in the match. Only 10 to Canberra. But the ones that have come into play really haven't got too many green lights from either coach.
Wait here, offside in front of me.
Mal Mening will be hoping the Raiders can just string 6 tackles together here. Clyde almost got through the line. Simon Wolford on. Back to Burnham. Daly now reaching high. Back to Kennedy. Just a miscommunication out in the backs once again. Wolford turns it back inside. To Vico it is. He knows only one way to go, and that's straight ahead. Wade comes to Daly. Chipping in behind the defence again, rolling it into the in goal. There's too much on it. And the Mariners will tap it from the 20. Well, they managed 6 tackles without dropping it. Really still wasn't much happening for the home team. It's Brand who hits it up for the Mariners.
I don't think it's going to be too long until we see either side start believing that the bomb is going to be the best form of attack they can take on that 5th tackle.
Well, there's a game here for the taking with just over 15 minutes left. At the moment, it looks as though neither side wants to win it. We're locked up 12-all at Bruce Stadium. Vico was a little bit high there. Amanda says it was okay. Brand now, another strong tackle, this time from Wesley.
Line's good, wait for it.
On the halfway line. Comes back to Madison.
Last one. You're out, Jason.
Goldthorpe now. He kicks. It's Jeff McNamara who gets back.
Yeah, it's easy to be critical, I suppose, Warren, but that kick to me really served no purpose. It just gave them the ball. It didn't go within 15 metres of the try line and certainly didn't put any pressure on the Canberra players.
Nagus with a bustling run. 20 metres he made, plays it back. Wolford quickly. Away to Bradley Clyde, stepping off the left. Tackled by Swain. Wolford now. The runners were too early. He goes from dummy half himself and makes a good run.
Roll off.
Really can dart away from dummy half and pick up some good metres. We've seen that in the first 4 rounds. Daly hands it back. Burnham, away it comes to Wiki. He tries to storm over the top of Robbie Ross. Ferner has tackled 10 out now. On the 4. Through Burnham to Daly. Comes back inside, looking for Todd Payton. Now DeVico has it. Back to Burnham. Here's Nagus, midfield, grubbers for himself. Here's a chance, a race for the ball. Thompson got back there to shovel it over the dead ball line. Quick thinking from Ken Nagus with not much doing for the Raiders. He thought, I'll try it for myself, and he almost got there.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot in it. Two fellas that were stretching for the ball. I guess they could both see that win or lose packet in front of them. And the win one is certainly a hell of a lot more attractive.
Goldthorpe with the goal line dropout.
Interesting to note, Laurie Daly has ran the last 3 times he's touched the ball. I think he believes that the success rate he's had with that is probably something worth trying to cash in on.
Burnham there electing to let the ball go into touch, so it will be Canberra loose and feed. 35 out from the Mariners line, but Laurie Daly, maybe he's decided to take the bit between his teeth and just take them on. The Raiders fans will certainly be hoping so. Just over 12 and a half left before full time.
Walk back, Mariners, walk
We're
back.
still deadlocked here at Bruce Stadium.
Back. David, bend your back, mate. No push, wait for the ball.
Daly to Wiki. And Druku trailing. Wiki again, fighting in the tackle.
Two in there. That's it.
The ruling from Manda, the second man, came in and raked the ball away from Wiki.
And if he's trying to deny he took this one, well, I think the nose is going to grow about a foot long. You'll see just as he turns to try and straighten, there it comes in from Robbie Ross and just rips that ball out. So, Robbie, I think you better put 5 cents in the middle.
Well, it will give the chance for David Furner to kick. He'll be 32 out and 18 in from the western touchline. In 1996, he had a 65% success rate with goal kicking. This year hasn't been as good, and Mal Meninga watches on pensively. Just under 11 and a half left. Furner 5 of 12 in 97. This to put the green machine back in front. It looks good. It is there. It's the Raiders who lead the Mariners. 14 points to 12.
Now, maybe I'm trying to back an odds-on favourite here, but I think we'll probably see at this stage Laurie Daly, Bradley Clyde and David Furner as the guys that will play an enormous part in the Canberra game over this next 10 minutes, just over 10 and a half minutes. They realise now that as experienced players, they've got to take the rest of the players around them and say, hey, it's about time you guys followed me. Let's get into a good position on the field.
Just under 10 and a half minutes left. It's Thompson who'll play it for the Mariners. 10 out from his own line. Tim Madison. Tackled by Simon Wolford. Troy Stone now. Straightens it up.
Come back. No penalties, no penalties.
Iro was running one way. Swain wheeled. Came back to the left. Cross to Marquette.
Okay, last one.
Wesley and Payton greet him. Goldthorpe now. Kicking deep. Nagus will cut it off, though. Wall of Mariners there. Piccinelli got to him first. Just outside the Raiders' red zone.
That's okay, play on. Standing
Clyde flips it back to Payton now. Gets it across. This is Wiki. Pushes away from one. Beats another. We've seen a glimpse of the Wiki of old here in the second half. Stavico. Hit by Stone.
Come back.
Taken to ground by Kimorley. Wesley gets it to the halfway line. Wolford. Again, another good run from dummy half. Got it back as well. Here come the Raiders again. Daly now. Back inside for Furner into space. He beats a couple.
Last one.
On the last tackle. Wolford trying to find Daly. Does so eventually, but he was harassed from the moment he took the ball. Wesley came up with it. He dropped it. And it will be a changeover on the last.
Gee, he tried everything there, Laurie Daly. The ball came to him. He had defence all the way around him. He simply planted his feet almost a metre apart and shoveled the ball in between his legs. Got very difficult there. Plenty of defence. There goes Laurie throwing it back between his legs. Unfortunately, it didn't work, but it's been some outstanding work between him, David Ferner and Clyde, especially over the last couple of minutes.
Bit of room for a moment there for Iro. He's tackled. Zisti. Nothing happening there for the Mariners. Goldthorpe. Face ball across to Ross. Now it's Stone. Back on the inside. They couldn't handle it. It'll be picked up by McNamara. Got it away to Nagas. Chances coming for the Raiders. The Mariners, they can't hang on to it at the moment. Payton gets it back to Burnham. Wolford across to Wiki. Beats another one. And again. 25 out from the Mariners line. You sense there's something coming for the Raiders. Here's DeVico inside the red zone.
Let's go, come on.
Wolford to the left they go through Burnham. Daly, short ball to Wesley. Important tackle made by Goldthorpe. Daly runs it. Burnham now. To the right they come. There's a chance for the Raiders. Payton spins, gets it back to Burnham. To Wiki now. Fends off one and another one. Madison brought him down. Last tackle. Daly. Grubbers looking for McNamara. Getting back there in time was Beecham. But it will be yet another Mariners goal line dropout. The pressure continues from the Raiders.
Very well placed, this kick from Laurie as well. You mentioned before there had been a little bit of a difficulty in good kicks for both teams during the game. Only one chaser, surprisingly, on that occasion for the Raiders, but he did so quite effectively.
DeVico back there, fields it on the halfway line. Just under 6.5 left. The Mariners have to hold out the Raiders and try and get back up the other end of the field. They haven't been there for so long.
Come back.
Payton to the edge of the red zone. Wolford across to Hetherington, who shows the ball to Wesley. Struggles, gets the ball back to him now, inside the 10-metre zone. Wolford back inside to DeVico. Marquette holds him, as does Stone.
No.
Surely the Mariners can't hold. No dummy half. Wolford got there. Here's Daly now. Short ball. Comes back out to Daly. He's brought down a couple out. He plays it on the last. Wolford tried to grab it through to the in goal. Piccinelli comes up with it. So the Mariners hang tough yet again. 95 metres away from the Raiders' try line, though, all the same. Here's Thompson. Met by Wesley and Hetherington. Comes across through Goldthorpe. They spin it early, looking for Iro. He gets it on to Carlaw. Tackled by Wiki. Iro a dummy half. Back to Troy Stone. Flips it out the back. Morley there to clean up. Good ball back to Anthony Brand. Back to the left they come. Kamali again. Across to Carlaw. He puts it on the left boot. McNamara did very well to tidy up, though, for the Raiders. Nagas will hit it up. Beats a couple, and the Mariners starting to fall off some tackles. Some work being done on Noah Nandruku. 4.5 left. They work feverishly trying to get him back on the field. Just inside the Mariners side of halfway, Wolford. They go to the left through Clyde. Now Ferner. Runs over the top of Swain, and Miles hangs on for dear life, but Wolford steams onto it. Gets inside the Mariners' red zone. Kennedy comes across now to Burnham. Along to Daly. Wesley steaming onto it. Goldthorpe wrestled into the ground. 2 tackles left for the Raiders. Back to Ferner. He grubbers. Nothing doing there for the Canberra side, though. And Piccinelli will clean up. The second half, or the last 20 minutes at least, seem to have been played almost exclusively down the Mariners' end of the field. Carlaw ducks under one.
Wait for here. 10.
They go right to Goldthorpe. Gets it back to Brand. Trying to get the arm free. Just under 3.5 left. It's Canberra 14, the Mariners 12. Stone. Short pass for Goldthorpe. Running away from dummy half was Swain. Gets to the halfway line. Ross. They go to the blind. Here's Iro. Shows it one way. Turns it back for Thompson, but he lost it.
Yeah, I think they realise at the moment that they've got to keep every avenue open. They're taking some chances which they normally mightn't, but with just under 3 minutes remaining, they feel that they've got to try and do it. Iro running the ball, dropping it into a hole. But the thing that really caused the error was the Raiders' defence. The missed tackles department is the one real thing that's it's been a little bit difficult for them at the moment. The Hunter Mariners have come up with 35. The local boys just 18.
So it's a Raiders ball. Just under 2.5 minutes to try and wrap it up. Nagas. Back to Clyde now. That doesn't help. The Raiders get the penalty. The Mariners inside the 10. Just about the halfway line. Canberra trying to use it up here. They've had the better of the penalties. Wiki searching for the Mariners' red zone. A good set of 6 and perhaps another grubber into the in goal. Woolford. The field goal may also be the option. Woolford has been injured in that tackle. He plays it back to Hetherington. Through Burnham. Across to Wesley. He's wrapped up. 10 out from the Mariners line. 1:25 left as Furner gets it across to Kennedy. The short pass off the hip. Mander waits. He looks and awards a try to the Raiders. And surely that is it. They are on the board. The Raiders will get their first win for 1997. Kennedy gets the try. It was 5 long games coming, but that has sealed it. Daly just turned it back inside to Furner. The beautiful short ball off the hip, and Kennedy went over untouched. Just scouting across, drawing everybody. Pinchinelli had no option but to take Furner. And Kennedy, the strong running back rower, stormed onto it. So after defeats by Cronulla, Penrith, Canterbury and Brisbane, the Raiders will chalk up their first win of the year. Both these sides will finish this game with a 1 win and 4 loss record. Furner can add the extras, make it an 8-point margin. He moves in, it's wide. But with just 15 seconds left, they'll barely have time to restart it. So the pressure will ease on Mal Meninga. You can almost hear the sighs of relief from downstairs. They count down to the final siren, and there it is. The Canberra Raiders. Who'd have thought it had taken that long to chalk up a win in 97? The final scoreline, 18 points to 12. Laurie Daly came into his own in the second half, ran the ball at the Mariners, found some gaps. That man had a great game. David Furner, terrific first 40 minutes. Ken Nagas very secure at the back, replacing Brett Mullins. They've all worked hard. Noel Goldthorpe did plenty for the Mariners, just couldn't find a way past a Raiders defence which was a whole lot better today than it has been in the first 4 games. They averaged 30 points conceded in those first 4 games, and there is Mal Meninga, a smile, perhaps a smile for the first time this season. Finally, he is a winning Super League Telstra Cup coach. Bradley Clyde, an 80-minute performance from him. And Todd Payton, he was on the field for plenty of minutes as well. Came on early, stayed out there for most of that win. Off the bench from second grade. It must be a relief for the Raiders to be able to go to the hill in the sunshine here at Bruce Stadium and thank the fans for their wholehearted effort as well. They can cheer and smile for the first time as well. In the weeks to come, the Raiders will take on Auckland here at Bruce Stadium. Then they have Penrith away. And it's the Cowboys here at home, the Perth Reds here at home, and the Cronulla Sharks also here at home. Downstairs, Wally Lewis is with Noel Goldthorpe.
Very disappointing loss, and it's been that way for a couple of times for the Mariners. They've played that way for 79 minutes. Just one mistake that's got away.
That's right, Wally. We've done the same thing again today. You know, we've given a step and they're desperate good and they come up with the goods again.
They're certainly playing very well, your guys. I mean, your opponents aren't outplaying you in any one particular department.
Yeah, we just probably just a little thing to cost us at the moment. When we can iron them problems out, I'm sure we're going to win more than what we losing like this.
What about with the coach? He looked like he had a bit of confidence on board at half-time. And the guys managed to pick up just what that one small point is.
Yeah, well, he was happy, Graham was happy at half-time. He just said if we can control the ball and finish off our sets, he said like we'd be a big chance at the end. But a couple of mistakes out there and a couple of calls didn't go our way, so it's just that's football.
What about small losses? They tend to take away from confidence after a while.
Yeah, well, when we've been beaten, we've only been beaten by 4 or 6 points, so I don't think we've got major problems. It's just ironing out them little problems, as I said, controlling the ball, and when we can do that, I'm sure, like I said, we'll win more than what we'll lose.
All the best for the rest of the season.
Thanks, Molly.
Another close loss for the Hunter Mariners as the crowd files out here in still the brilliant sunshine at Bruce Stadium. They went down narrowly in game 1 to the Bulldogs by 4 points. They also lost by the same margin to the Auckland Warriors and then went down by just 2. The Adelaide Rams back in round 3. Somebody who will be definitely happy, perhaps for the first time also in 97, is Laurie Daly. He's downstairs with Wally Lewis.
And it's a Laurie Daly that's certainly feeling a lot better than he did over the last month or so, Laurie.
Certainly, Wally. I mean, something that we really needed for the club. I thought we turned the corner a little bit last week against Brisbane with attitude. Had a good attitude again here today, but we still have mistakes that letting us down, so that's something we've got to work on.
We mentioned about your defence, particularly tight on the line, while there was a couple of missed tackles elsewhere. Defence tight on the line must have been very pleasing.
Yeah, it was, mate. If you look through our games, we've let in easy tries on our line, and that's one thing that Mal's told us. We've got to be really strong and committed. Defence is an attitude, and if you want to make a tackle, you will.
Now, the big boys in the team, yourself, Bradley, Clyde, they were the guys that started to run them, but David Ferner was the guy I thought stood out today.
He certainly did, mate. We're just starting to come together. It's taken a while because the key positions, with a halfback, it always, can take a bit of pressure off a 5'8". It's always good, and Jason's fit in there really well, so it's been great.
Now, one loss gets you off the ground. I guess the hard work starts now.
The hard work does start, mate. We got Auckland next week, which is going to be tough here at Bruce Stadium on Monday night, so we're looking forward to the people getting behind us again, and hopefully we'll get another win.
Well, the big point is you've got 5 of your next 6 games here at home.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it's a hard place to win down here, and we want to try and keep our home record intact. And if the people get right behind us, I'm sure we will.
We'll enjoy that victory song.
Cheers, mate.
So the 18 points to 12 win gives the Raiders a 1 win and 1 loss record here at Bruce Stadium, and they do have a good run coming up in the next 6 weeks. But just wrapping up from Bruce Stadium, the Canberra Raiders have defeated the Hunter Mariners by a scoreline of 18 points to 12.
Yes, finally, round 5 and the Raiders are on the board. Most coaching theories these days, Steve, start with defence, and the Raiders have been letting in about 5.5 tries on average per game, only the 2 today, and that made a big difference because they were able to build a platform for their attack.
The key today it really was probably a lacklustre game, but nevertheless, there's a lot of good things that came out of the game for Canberra, and Wally was spot on there when he spoke to Laurie Daly, is that their defence was much better. It was much better organised. There was a lot more urgency in the defence. Okay, they're improving there. Now they've got to look at their attack. There are some concerns there, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later on.
The world must be starting to look a little bit better for Mal Meninga. Simon, is it something, you've been in sides that have been down before. Is this the sort of thing that can ignite a real revival?
Well, I don't think you lose, 4 games on the trot, you're not going to turn it all around in one game. And as Laurie said, they came out last week against Brisbane, and that was a good game. The first half produced a lot of good football last week, and this week I think they didn't quite play as well as they did in the first half last week. But the important thing, as Laurie said, for the whole club, not just Laurie Daly or Mal Meninga, is they got 2 points out of it, and their hopes are alive for the year. They have something to play for next week.
Simon, being a back rower, Ferner had a great game today.
Yeah,
like the Ferner of old.
Yeah, he did. He had a really good game, and he wasn't out there running off Ricky Stewart you know, like he normally does. He worked with the halfback he had, and he worked with Laurie there to set up the last try. I think, you know, the key factor was Ferner was having a good game in the first half, but you see Ruben Wiki came out in the second half and really, you know, as Wally said, I think he ran like the Ruben of old. He's very hard to stop when he's determined, and I think he may have got a you know, a bit of a rocket thrown his way at half time about the way he was playing, and he came out, and I think that was the difference for them. They had someone else to support Hetherington and DeVico, you know, up the middle.
You know, any win is a good win, but looking over the other side of the ledger, Graham Murray, we heard Noel Goldthorpe say he was pretty happy at half-time. Well, he wouldn't have
He must be very disappointed now because in every game they've played, all 5 rounds, they've had a chance to win. They're in position to win, and they can't get across the line, can they, Steve?
Exactly. There was too many missed tackles, too much of that. A lot of drop ball, and you saw in that second half that the Mariners were trying to get Canberra on the edges. Now, they did that pretty well on the right and left-hand side of the field. But what happened was, the last moment, they forced the ball, dropped the ball, gave it back over to Canberra.
Steve, Simon, you're both very experienced players. From up here in the grandstand, it's easy to call what you think players should be doing, but running straight would be a good start, it would seem to most fans. Now, how come a coach can't get his players to run straight?
Go on, you take over first. You're playing.
I think we had a game last week where, you know, nobody in our team ran straight. I think, you know, maybe there was one time where one of our centres straightened the ball up, and, you know, we had poor defence to go with that. And when you're in a slump, you're always trying too hard, and the hardest thing to do when you're in a slump is to go back to the basics and just bang your head against a brick wall, and that is just hitting the ball up hard and straight.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have got a great defensive team, or you do a great effort, you 6 aggressive tackles, right, time and time again, then surely that gives you a lot of confidence. I can run this ball up, and your attack falls into play.
Yeah, well, that's all part of it. It's a whole package deal. If your defence is off track, you know, you're not hitting with your shoulder, then you don't have that confidence. You do a bad run, you run a crossfield, you get belted. Next time you're a bit hesitant. So it's a whole package deal. You have to really, I think the trick to straight running is aggression. You know, and you know, as we saw out there, David Ferner was a standout player because he consistently ran straight. And in the second half, Ruben Wiki, who is usually a very aggressive player, comes out in the second half and really straightens the ball up for them. That provides, you know, if David's going forward and Ruben's making good runs and the 2 props are going forward, then Laurie Daly's got a bit more space, you know. And you see Laurie had a hand in the try in the second half there with David Ferner, and once again, the straight runner.
Well, it's not your concern just quickly, is it? Because you play for the Bulldogs and you want your boys firing up tomorrow.
Yeah, well, as I said, we misfired last week. So Canberra and Hunter, 1 from 5. And as you say, it's not my concern.
We'll have a look at your game against the North Queensland Cowboys in preview in just a moment. But for now, at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, Fox Sports News will bring us all up to date with what's been happening in the world of sport other than Super League. And Caroline, seriously, the good news for golf fans at least is that Steve